was a nice summer evening. The weather wasn't too hot. I decided to go for a walk because it had been hot and I hadn't been exercising like I should. So I decided to go for a walk one evening and after dinner, and took off and just told my husband I was going to walk for 30 minutes. Walk for 15, turn around, come back, and I'd be home in that amount of time. So I put my watch on, put my shoes on, took a walk, and I got about halfway down our street and I just felt this, like this ball in my chest. And it felt like indigestion. I mean, I thought, wow, I didn't think I'd eaten that much for dinner, you know, and so I thought, I'll just keep walking, it'll ease out, and I just kept going, went down the big hill across the road there, and kept waiting for it to get better, and it kept not getting better. So I got to the bottom of the hill, and I had two choices: I go up the next hill, or I turn around and come back up this hill and come back home, and starting to get a little bit of a headache. So I just sat down on the curb for a minute, thought, and see if it would pass, and it didn't. And I had no idea. I had no idea it was, and didn't even think that it could be my heart. I just you know, thought I had overeaten. So I decided to come on back home because I didn't have my phone with me and wasn't sure what was going on. So I came back up the hill and came home, came in the house, and my husband was sitting over here reading the paper, and he kind of looks at me like, that wasn't 30 minutes. And I said, yeah, something doesn't feel right. I don't really feel very good, but I'm not sure what it is. I said, my chest feels funny. And I said, I think it's indigestion, but I'm not really sure. And I sat down, and he actually said something about, does your arm hurt? And so I sit there and I start thinking about it. I'm like, well, you know, it might, but I'm not sure. And I really wasn't sure. And I was really thinking that, you know, I'm just projecting that there. You know, because I was trying to think about it, and so I was thinking that that sensation. And I said, yeah, I don't think so. I think, you know. So I took a couple Tums, took an aspirin, and it was passing it at that time. You know, it was easing up, and you know, within just a few minutes, I was fine. And so, you know, I just sat around the rest of the evening, and then on Saturday, he called me a couple times and said, how you feeling? I said, fine. You know, don't feel any of that stuff. And same on Sunday. And then on Monday morning, he had gone to the hospital to make rounds, and I was going to do some exercising before I went to do my work, and I was on my elliptical, and the minute I got on my elliptical, I felt something. And he happened to come home at that time, and I told him, you know, whatever that was, it's back. I don't know what this is, but it's back, and you know, something doesn't feel right. So he actually called his friend. You know, I've got an opening, why don't you just have her come in? I'll just see, just make sure. And there is high blood pressure in my family, and so that's kind of what they were thinking. Maybe there's something going on. Maybe you're going to start having a problem with that. But still, I really wasn't thinking it was my heart. I thought, there's no way that's what this is. I'm 51. There's no way. And so that afternoon, I went into his office, and they did an EKG. It was fine. And he said, well, you know, that's very well could be what it is, but we don't know, so we're going to run some tests. So he scheduled a couple different tests for that week, and that was on Monday. So on Wednesday, I went back in they did an echo, and it was fine. It came back negative. And so we're thinking, okay, one more down, one to go, and then on Thursday I went in for a stress test. And I had another episode on Wednesday night, and it was kind of a bad one, but I knew I was going in on Thursday, and I didn't want to make a big issue out of it. So I just like, it's fine. I'm not going to do anything. I don't want to go to the emergency room. I don't think I'm an idiot because, you know, we're getting this all taken care of. So I just said, you know, didn't say anything about it. And but then so on Thursday I went in and had the stress test. Left there at 11. Called me at about 11:30, I think, and said, we have a problem. We need to do a cath. There's something wrong. We need to find out what it is. The only way to do that is to take you to the cath lab and get a look at that. And so he scheduled for the next morning, and then he called me back and said, you know, let's do it this afternoon instead. He said, I'll be done. We can do it about 3. They found the problem. I had some blocked arteries, and they put a couple stents in, and then I was fine. The next morning I came home, did my laundry, and everything was fine. And then actually I had to go back about a week later. It happened again, or no, actually it was probably 12 days. It was the following Monday. I went a whole week, and then the following Monday. Kind of the same thing. I got on my elliptical and started feeling some pain, and I'm like, well, there's no way that this happened again. I just had that, but it felt the same. And so I did call him that time, because I didn't want to be stupid, like I almost was the time before. And he said, you know, there's no way we can, the tests aren't going to show anything, because you just had this done, so we'll just take you back to the cath lab. And they did, and they actually found another problem, and it wasn't visible outside. They had to use some other machines to find it. I don't completely understand it all, but they did find another one and put a third stent in, and now I'm fine. Everything's good. Pay attention to what's going on and don't be afraid to say, you know your body and know this is not right, and don't be afraid to say there's a problem, and don't be afraid of what people will think if you go in there's not a problem. You know, if I'd have gone to the emergency room and they'd have said, you know what, you just had indigestion, well, at least I'd have known. You know, instead of, you know, what almost happened and could have happened that would have been devastating to my family. I had my year checkup, and he didn't even do a stress test. He said everything's fine. He's taken me off all but one of the medicines he had put me on, and I'm good. It's just amazing to me the technology that is available now that can only come about by the research that is done, and the money that comes in that allows them to come up with all these new procedures. I mean, the idea that they were able to take this little bitty wire with a little bitty camera on it and, you know, insert it into a hole in my leg and feed it all the way up into my chest and take pictures of my heart, find the problem, fix the problem, you know, in that short amount of time is just phenomenal. And what could happen in the future, who knows? I mean, you know, my kids my girls, you know, they're gonna have to think about this when they get older, and it's comforting to know that they can take this money from this research and make things that hopefully will help them even more than I was helped by it. It's different for me. It is exciting, and I hope that sharing my story will help someone else to learn to you know, watch the signs and pay attention to that and to say something about it. You know, I'm not that old, and you know, it can happen, and so if I can help someone else in my situation, then it's all worth it.